Hi, welcome everybody. On behalf of Color Bright and Green, I'd like to welcome Al Hibner from Color Penfield Green, who's going to talk to us about electrifying our heating and cooling.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you, Al.
So my name, this meeting is being recorded. Excellent. Okay. I got it. Thank you. Okay. So my name is Al Hibner, and I just wanted to say how much I'm thankful to you for inviting me to Brighton. Color Brighton Green is basically the beginning of all the Color Community Green communities. So Color Penfield Green thanks you for starting this amazing series of communities. It is growing at a very, very rapid rate across our entire Monroe County region. So you had a lot to do with it. Now, before we start here, I can't see the folks on Zoom, but I want to ask, is there anybody in the audience who actually has a heat pump installed now? Oh my gosh, half the audience is ringers. Incredible, half of you are ringers. Okay, so I'm a Penfield resident. Anyway, thanks for all of you for coming. I've been working full-time since retirement, 5 years of full-time work on climate solutions activism, 5 years, at all levels. At the national level, I was co-lead of lobbying for Citizens Climate Lobby. I am still working on pushing carbon pricing into the Build Back Better bill. We're going to talk about carbon pricing and how it relates to this topic very shortly. I'm also working at the state level, again, lobbying for the Climate and Community Investment Act, which contains a carbon price. Why is he harping on carbon price? Again, that's going to come up in just a moment. At the local level, I founded the Penfield CCA Residents Committee in 2018. And it is next month, December, that our CCA program goes live 3 years later. We're a little behind you guys. You got into your program quite a bit faster than we did. So congratulations for that. And then in 2020, I co-founded Color Penfield Green with Katie Rigg, my colleague. And I've been working on clean energy communities. How many of you have heard of NYSERDA's clean energy communities? Okay. So within that, they have high impact action items that allow you to earn points and grant monies for the work that you do. Well, guess what? Tonight, we're going to talk about the campaign that Penfield's doing and invite you to create one in Brighton. It's too late for you, John. You've already bought your geothermal system. Megan's a ringer from Penfield, and you already have your heat pump. Okay. The other thing I do is write a blog series for our Color Penfield Green website called, guess what? All Electric Life. Okay. Now, at the personal and family level, my goal is to live all electric. And in the last couple of years, I've installed both a heat source, air source heat pump, and a ground source heat pump. Go figure. Hey, am I qualified to talk about this topic? I think so. Okay. All right, so that's my credentials. We're talking about going all electric. So very quickly, we're going to talk about why move to all electric heating and cooling. What's the difference between the two different types of heat pumps? We'll do some work on a case study. By the way, I have Q&A sessions. There's several points where I'm going to stop and take your questions, so kind of hold on to them until we get to those Q&A points, if you would, please, okay? And then we'll talk a little bit about my case study, have some interesting information for you, some real numbers, some real data about my system and how it's performing. And John's going to present that portion. Just kidding, John. Okay. Then we'll talk about our campaign and how you might stand up a similar type of campaign in Brighton, if you wish. Finally, I have a lot of closing thoughts, and already, after only 6 months with our system, I have some thoughts and some lessons learned about geothermal systems. So that's the agenda. Let's get right into it. We're at 6:25. Okay, How many of you were aware of this? Gee, duh. Our Genie says what? You know, heating prices for natural gas heat are going up 33% over this winter, right? Of course they are. Okay. If you look at it, since September, over the past 12 months, they went up a staggering 180% natural gas prices. So what's happening in the intersection of COP26 in Glasgow, New York State, and our national push to get climate legislation in the Build Back Better bill? There's a lot happening you better know about. Number one, the Climate, Community, and Investment Act contains in it a price on carbon. They call it a polluter fee. It will generate $15 billion a year. Price on carbon with rebates to low and moderate income households to cover and make them whole the cost of rising energy from fossil fuel prices. Okay? So that's happening right now. I'm lobbying state assembly members. Yesterday, I had a meeting to put the CCIA in the New York State budget, to get that into the budget. We're lobbying actively right now. What's happening at the national level? In case you didn't know, the carbon price in the Build Back Better bill, it will be passed by the House. It will be signed by President Biden, and is currently approved by 49 out of 50 senators. You take a guess, which senator has not yet said I gave it away. He wants carbon pricing. You take a guess. Joe Manchin, you're right. You win. So seriously, national carbon pricing is one vote away from being put into the Build Back Better Act. And that could be passed by the end of this year. So what's the impact of all of that? Well, you know what it will be. The price of fossil fuel energy will go up. Now, 60% of households in this bill are made whole or come out ahead by getting monthly carbon cashback checks that help to pay and defray the costs of rising energy prices. Okay, so what else is happening? If we don't put a carbon price in the Build Back Better bill, highly likely we cannot meet the goal of 50% reduction of emissions by 2030. Right now, without carbon pricing, we're at about 40%. We're going to blow up our COP26 promise. Just going to blow it away. Unless we put a price on carbon in the Build Back Better bill. So that's why I'm working so hard at the national and state level to get that done. Okay. What's the trend line here looking like, folks? Gee, rising prices for fossil fuel generating heat and electricity, right? That's the trend line. It's happening. What are you going to do about it? What can you do? Well, that's the whole subject of this class tonight. Let's roll. Okay, Saul Griffith, and I'm going to make available a PDF document of this entire presentation. You can click on all the links in the PDF. So, you actually can follow the links in that PDF document. Saul Griffith, I'll let you read about him. I've been following him for a couple of years. He's pretty cool. His remedy is pretty simple. Electrify everything, nearly everything. There are 1 billion devices in the United States. Heating devices, cars, on and on and on. There's about 1 billion devices that we must electrify in the next 20 to 30 years. That's the entire goal. Take a peek at what Saul says.
Sadly, people have the impression that we can't fix climate and still have to carry that way. That's not true. We only need half as much energy. We don't have to protect cars. Right now, I think that's super. Here's how you get it. We need to electrify nearly everything. In 2018, I worked.
I'm going to pause. I may not have turned on the volume for the Zoom people, so I want to double check that. Okay, I need to make sure that we have the volume for the Zoom folks turned on. And the answer is no, I did not share the sound. So I do apologize for that, folks.
We've got 17 people listening on Zoom.
That's right. That's good. So they should now be able to hear.
Of energy to map the entire US energy system, where energy comes from and where it goes. Everything from how much energy your toaster uses to how much energy it takes to make steel. It is really amazing just how much energy is wasted. The wasted energy we're talking about isn't really the wasted energy of forgetting to turn your kitchen light off. It's in the way we make and produce energy. More than 60% of the fuels that we use to generate our electricity get wasted as heat. More than 80% of the energy we stick into our cars in the form of gasoline or diesel is also wasted. If we electrify everything, we eliminate a huge amount of the waste. We don't need to shrink our cars, we don't need to turn the thermostat down, and we use less than half of the energy we currently do. We've got to electrify our trucks and our cars, we've got to electrify our homes, our furnaces, our hot water heaters, even the way we cook. And then we need to supply that electricity with our clean, non-wasteful sources, with wind, with solar, with hydro, and with other clean energy systems. And if we did that, we're going to save every business and every home money. Wind and solar are the cheapest forms of electricity going onto the grid today. Solar on your roof can be the cheapest energy source that we have ever had. If we use all of this cheap energy, there's an opportunity here for us all to save money while improving our energy systems. Think about that for a second. The future can be awesome. We can have cleaner water, we can have cleaner air, we can have cleaner skies and a better environment. And we can save thousands of dollars per year in every household. Why do I know America can do this? It's because America, uniquely in the world, has a history of taking on audacious projects. Solving the Great Depression, fighting World War II and winning it for the Allies, launching man into outer space. If America goes bold and big in that manner, and we do it focused on electrification of the economy, we can be the first country in the world to truly address climate change at scale and on the time frame we need. America is blessed with incredible resources and can easily run on clean and renewable electricity. America can be electric. Our future can be electric. Let's rewire America.
Did you hear what's all said? We can have our cake and eat it too. We can have cleaner sources of heat and transportation. And it can cost less. We can do it. And that's the thesis or contention of this class tonight. We can do it. Okay. Part two here, we're going to talk very briefly to introduce you. Of course, there are a lot of people in here that already know what heat pumps are, but I want to kind of differentiate between air source and ground source and how you can get started considering a system as an individual if you wish to. So everything that we talk about when you're approaching the idea of, is my home ready for a heat pump, typically involves examining your building envelope, weatherizing, air sealing, insulating. Why would you waste any of that beautiful green energy you're paying for in Brighton? 4.2 cents per kilowatt hour from hydropower. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Why would you waste it? Why not go ahead and weatherize? So that's always step one. Step two is then considering what system's best for you, air or ground source. We'll define them. And then lastly here, are you going to put in a heat pump for your hot water? Okay. Remember, all of you are going to get this PDF. I'll make sure, Cheryl, that you get it. You can take it out to all the people. And all the links will be active. So it's a 1, 2, 3, weatherize or examine, do an energy assessment on your hot water. So steps 1, 2, and 3. So heat pumps, hey, folks, you already got 1 or 2 in your house. Wow, John, you have more than 1 or 2. You have a heat pump in your refrigerator. Simple. It pumps heat from inside the refrigerator out to the coils, or sometimes you feel the hot air blowing out from underneath the refrigerator. Well, that's the hot air being pumped. That it grabbed from inside and pumped into the outside. That's a heat pump. Many of you, how many of you have, hi Matt. I'm gonna be talking about Matt Corona here in just a little bit. How many of you have an central air conditioning unit? Okay, probably sits in a coil on top of your gas furnace, right? Am I right? Sits in a coil on top of your furnace, most likely. Okay, so that's taking warm air, heat from inside the house and pumping it outside. So that you're cooling your house in the summer. Well, here's the problem, folks. Both of those situations that are so commonly available are one-way heat pumps. Why not make them two-way? There's so little additional cost to get a two-way heat pump. And that's what we're talking about here tonight. Make it two-way so that in the winter, it reverses. It takes heat from outside air and pumps it into the house. Why not make it two-way? That's the entire mission of this course and of what I'm talking about tonight. So here's some examples of heat pumps. There's an air source heat pump there. This is a head unit. This is called a mini split unit. It's an air source heat pump, but this is where the heat comes out. It can be installed anywhere in your home. Here's another air source. Here's ground source. Here's a ground source geothermal loop to pick up cool and cool air and to make cool air and hot air, depending upon which direction the ground loop coolant is flowing. And here's an example or picture of a hybrid hot water heater. Okay. All right. So in geothermal, the loops are either horizontal, vertical, or sometimes even installed in a water source like a pond. So that they can pick up heat or discharge heat, pick up cold air to pick up cold source, or discharge coolness. Okay, so that comes into the house. Typically, most homes in our area have ductwork, upflow ductwork from a furnace. So this will go through the furnace and then out to your ducts as if it was a normal furnace at that point. Now, if you don't have ductwork, again, these mini split head units can be put almost anywhere in your home. They can all be connected. You can have multiple independently zoned thermostatically controlled units in any of your rooms in your home if you don't have ductwork. Okay. So real quick on pros and cons of air source versus ground source. Both of them are two-way. Finally, that's a smart thing. They provide both heating and cooling. Both of them can provide hot water. Both have co-benefits, things like you're not burning natural gas, so there's no pollution. Your air quality indoors is better. That's a co-benefit of heat pumps. So the upfront cost of an air source is similar to a natural gas and air conditioning system that you have now. And the ground source is approximately twice that of an air source heat pump. Operating costs, similar. The operating cost is similar to natural gas and air conditioning systems. Now, with the geothermal, you have significant savings. 15 to 20 year lifespan, 25 to 30 year lifespan for ground source. If you have no ductwork, you can get a little mini split head units to provide heat and cool in your rooms. And with the ground source, if you don't have ductwork, that may get it into an expensive proposition at that point in order to retrofit your home. Lot size, no worry about air source. You just have a unit outside, a condensing unit outside. Here you need open space with access. We'll see that a little bit later. Annual checkup versus minimum. Okay, so very quickly, Heat pumps, how come? They're 200 to 400% more efficient than a pure air conditioner and natural gas system on its own. Two-way heating and cooling. If you have an air source, hybrid air source heat pump water heater, it will dehumidify your basement if it's in the basement. So that's a good thing. Again, I said indoor air quality, and especially if you're heating with non-natural gas sources, propane, oil, or electric, you're going to see substantial savings on your bills. Okay, and of course, the green factor is what we're all looking for too, reduced effect on climate. So heat pumps have never been more affordable. Say hello, Matt. Okay. You would work with him if you want to sign up to learn more, to get a free energy assessment. He would take you through all of the grants and all of the tax credits. On my geothermal system, I have a 26% tax credit, and there were multiple rebates for the hardware, for the actual equipment. So that was all a good thing. So Heat Smart Monroe can work with you to ascertain all of the credits, rebates, and all the goodies that you can get by putting in this equipment. Okay. I love this point right here. If it can be designed appropriately, you might get a loan payment for this equipment that is lower than the amount you're going to save on energy. Just think about that for a minute. It's actually paying you to install a heat pump system. So the process for Matt, if you connect with him, is to share your information, schedule a home energy audit, which is a free assessment. He will call in vendors to review your options, provide you with proposals, and then the equipment will be installed. Okay, so again, Matt, thank you for coming. I've got all of Matt's information here. You want to just say a couple words, Matt, about Heat Smart Monroe?
Yeah, sure.
Right here, everybody will see you.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me. So Al's done an awesome job. Heat Smart is basically where is there to be an unbiased guide for people. You know, we really we don't make any money off of the interactions we have with people. We're really just there to give unbiased advice about the technology, about contractors. It really matters what contractor you end up working with, so we can make sure that you're working with a contractor that can get all of the incentives that you're entitled to, as well as it's going to give you a good experience, because we've heard some really crazy things from contractors about heat pumps. So part of it is correcting some of that misinformation. And so my contact info is right up there. And we can talk about all of this stuff in more detail as it relates to your home. So
stay up here because we're going to go into Q&A in just a moment. So in the back are brochures for Heat Smart Monroe. You can scan that and go to the website. This is an initiative of the Climate Solutions Accelerator, a nonprofit organization in Rochester. So it's all on the up and up. And here's the site to actually enroll to find out if you can get, well, to actually qualify to get a free energy at home assessment. So, all right, let's do some questions so far to this point. Anybody have any questions? Any from the Zoom folks? Any Q&A? Yes, sir.
What's the upfront costs for a standard, air source heat pump or these kind of things? How many thousands are we talking?
yeah, so well, first of all, it's really the biggest factor on the cost is going to depend on the size of your home. So it's going to scale with the size. The larger the house is, the more larger equipment they have to put in. So, if I can give you like a range, after the incentives, we're looking at like $10,000 to $15,000, give or take, and that number is really going to depend on what it really depends on what contractor you're working with, because we've seen some crazy quotes from some of the larger contractors, especially who maybe their salespeople, have an incentive to sell other equipment than a heat pump. So, we've gotten quotes for way higher than that. I've seen from certain contractors. So if you're working with the right contractor, 11 to 15 is what you can expect. Yeah, that's like all said and done. It's installed, you get the rebates and everything. So for air source, ground source is going to be again around 2 times that.
I'll talk about pricing on ground source a little bit later. Question from Zoom.
Do you have to live in a specific area to get help from these programs, or is it as long as you live in upstate New York?
So our program, I run the Heat Smart Monroe campaign. So that is for Monroe County specifically, but there are other Heat Smart campaigns all across the state that do like the same job I'm doing, just in their counties. So depending on what county you're in, there's probably a Heat Smart campaign there to get in touch with. If you reach out to me, I can put you in touch with the right person in your area. So
Next question from Zoom.
Can you tell us about hybrid air source heat pumps coupled with a gas furnace, cost comparison with straight heat pump heating?
good question. Yeah, so hybrid systems have been around for a long time because cold climate heat pumps have only existed for maybe 10 or 15 years, but regular heat pumps that can be used in a hybrid system that existed for a long time. So there's really no good reason to do a hybrid system today. A lot of contractors will recommend them. Like I said, some of those larger contractors that aren't really super abreast on the latest technology will recommend them, and a lot of times it's I hate to say it, but it's a way to sell more equipment, and because they work on commission. And not all contractors do, by the way, but a lot do. So there's not really a great reason to do it. It's going to cost you probably around the same, and you don't really get the benefits of the cold climate air source heat pump. You're still burning fossil fuels, and it's realistically probably only going to be able to heat your house like 2 months out of the year, if that. So I don't recommend them, but you could totally do it with a non-cold climate air source heat pump and the gas furnace, but I wouldn't suggest it.
Is there a minimum lot size for a geothermal heat pump?
We've had systems installed on city lots that were maybe 100, I don't know, 1,000 square feet maybe in the back. It depends upon, can the drilling unit access the property back there? It's as simple as that. And you're going to see pictures of a drilling unit in just a moment. So hang on, keep that thought on that question. Yes, sir.
So if you have ductwork and you're using a blower it's powered by electricity, where are you getting that electricity from?
Buy it from your CCA program. So it's 100% renewable. 4.2 cents in Brighton. That's amazing. Penfield just negotiated 6.443 cents for 100% hydro. Wow. I really envy Brighton.
So just repeat the questions from the floor, because they can hear you.
Okay.
They can't hear us.
So your question was, you've got a fan in the unit that's the heat pump. Where's the fan getting its electricity? It's getting it from the normal, whatever electricity supply source you have. In Brighton, that could be your CCA program if you have not opted out of it. And I think we're going to try to move on a little bit here, although let's take 2 more questions. Let's go right here, sir.
What kind of incentives do you have for people that they own their own home and they're on a fixed income? In other words, I'm not paying mortgage or anything like that. Own it full.
Yeah. So I guess there's no special incentives for like being in that scenario, like you paid off your home, but there are low to moderate income incentives. So if your income is under a certain limit from the state, there's money to do insulation and air sealing work. And then you can also get additional incentives for heat pumps specifically. But if you want to talk about that, we can talk about all the income limits and all that.
With geothermal, it's tax credits, 26%. Build Back Better Act may drive that to 30. And then there's rebates on the hardware that go directly to the person installing. So question, John and Karen. Okay.
So we installed geothermal in our house at 86 Bonnie Break, and they drove 5 wells in less than 50% of our front yard. Drive by our house on Bonnie Break, great 2-story house, and see a big garden with geothermal. So geothermal is only half that yard, really.
And I would add to John's comment that our
we installed our geothermal in a 100-year-old house.
Installed in a 100-year-old house. Okay, let's move on because we've got lots to cover. So what I'd like to do right now is give you my take on owning 2 heat pumps, air source and ground source. And I've owned the ground source, the geothermal, since April. It's been functioning since April of this year. And the air source heat pump has been functioning since January of 2020. So let's get right into it here. Okay. Here's my timeline. I'm going to actually go through my timeline. You can see back in 2006, I did step 1. I weatherized my home. That's a long time ago. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then from January 2020 to present, I have done an awful lot of stuff that I want to talk with you about to get to almost 100% all electric. Almost. Folks, I'm 1 gas dryer away. That's it. That's all that's left in my house to replace. And that's going to be a hybrid electric dryer when I get to do it. So I coined this term, thinking about as I started in January, I thought, you know, this is a big, beautiful, green, all electric life that we could be having, that we all need to move toward. So what I did was I started blogging. Now, I'm not going to summarize these blog articles. All of these links are active. If you want to follow my process, go read my blog articles. Okay? So what caused me to do what I've done? Why have you gone over the top, Al, and become all electric? There is, if I were to put it into one single sentence from this article, you go read it, this is it right here. This is why I do what I do. Escape to where the puck is going to be, not where it has been. I can see what's coming. I'm there. I got the puck corralled and I got the net in my sights. Okay. So in 2006, we increased insulation or added to 16 inches, R50, check. Hey, we were doing siding. You get 1 shot at this, folks. If you do siding, you've got 1 chance to have blown in insulation. I grabbed that chance. And I had sidewall, dense fat cellulose blown in. I now have an R20 sidewall. You try to find a 1950s ranch house anywhere in Rochester with an R20 sidewall. Probably not going to find it. We have an integral garage. The ceiling under our living room happens to be the garage. Pretty cold. You could actually walk across it barefoot and find the zone where it changed. So I had 7 inches blown in, done. All new energy efficient doors and windows. Okay? And you can read more about that process in my 1950s. By the way, the house is built like a tank. It's built beautifully. It's just so terribly insulated from the start. So I grabbed a shot at bringing it up to par. Now, is there more I can do? Yes, there's more I can do. Next. My office downstairs is an in-law apartment, about 700 square feet. It's partially integrated or built into the earth, and the other half is exposed out. I have windows at grade level, etc. So my gas furnace was 32 years old, on the wall. Every time the wind went over about 50 miles an hour, the pilot light went out. I got sick of it. 65% efficient, maybe. So I said, you are replacing this gas furnace in this in-law apartment office. So I installed a on-wall carrier. This is an individual single unit, $3,500, including the demolition of the other system. Carrier mini split heat pump, 12,000 BTU system, and it really does a great job heating the entire downstairs production studio / office, 700 square feet, no problem. Okay, and at the same time, because I'm skating to where the puck will be, I installed a level 2 charger, even though I didn't have a full battery electric vehicle yet. That was coming within 6 months. So I installed it at the same time. Hey, you got the electrician there, why not? Can you do this? Okay, read more about it here. Now, dual fuel hybrid. I considered that. Who had the question about hybrids? Somebody in the Zoom did. Okay, so I would love that person to, when they get this PDF, and you can email them these PDFs, to click this link, go read about my process to review what a dual fuel system was, hybrid, and why I might want it or might not want it, okay? And then I went to, I started looking at geothermal because somebody in this room had a geothermal system installed. Can't quite remember who that was. Was it Ben? No, it was John and Karen. Had a system installed. You got me intrigued when you had your system installed. So I started researching geothermal, read more about it, and then I made the decision to go all in and install geothermal system. Okay. All right, we need to close that window because I lost focus on my clicks. Yeah, you really cannot do that. Because then I lose focus on the PowerPoint.
Oh my gosh. Is that the
It's okay. All right. Now, in April of 2021, I had the geothermal system installed. This is a water furnace Series 7 water furnace installed. Ground source heat pump with a 1,400 foot ground loop, 6 vertical wells. Okay. Then we had an A.O. Smith hybrid hot water heater installed. And the really cool feature here is a passive geotank that is warmed by the compressor, by energy heat produced by the compressor is captured, put into this tank, mixed with 50-degree water coming from the street before it goes into the hybrid electric hot water heater. Brilliant, brilliant. Recovery of energy, preheating the water, less electricity needed. We've got a fantastic system. Okay. So, read more about it. When the system was being installed, I documented the drilling, drill baby drill. Part 6, 7 of my series. Part 8, when they finished the wells, I had documented the drilling of all the wells. This is my final wellness report. Read more about it, watch the video. And finally, when they linked the wells together in a trench, waging trench welfare, I documented that. I've got one more article to write. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's give you a quick look at Drill Baby Drill.
In part 1 of this video series, you'll watch the drilling crew unload, position, and set up the drilling rig to begin drilling the first of 6 100-foot deep wells for our geothermal ground loop system here at Highledge Drive. It's about 7:15 a.m. here on April 6th, and today is the day that the geothermal wells will start to be dug. It's a beautiful day here with nice sunshine coming up. It's going to be nice warm. So this is it. This is the calm before the drilling storm, as it were, here at 85 Highledge Drive in Penfield, New York. Okay, the crew is here with the drill. So he's just walking the robot right down the driveway. This is freaking cool. That's Brian bringing the robot right down the driveway. This is the robot drilling machine. I think this is way, way cool. Got a little controller there. like a pool. Good morning. I'm Al. Good morning.
Pretty cool. That is, by the way, the smallest of the drilling units. And that one fits in the backyard, that would fit in a city lot. That is the smallest unit that this particular installer has. So that's Drill Baby Drill. I invite you to learn more about the process for having geothermal wells dug. Okay, now, armed with my carrier air source, with my water furnace geothermal, I've got an EV now. I have an EV. Geez, I've got a lot of electricity I'm using, right? No natural gas, but lots of electricity. So you know what I gotta do? I gotta harden up our infrastructure inside our house. So what I did next was to upgrade the breaker, the main panel, up to a 200 amp service. This made a whole lot of sense to get that clean and done. And I installed a whole house surge protector. How many of you have ever had a tree fall somewhere in the neighborhood and lose power? Come on, everybody has, for sure. And we do a lot in my neighborhood. So, you know, I want to have surge protection. And then I installed the Generac 22 kilowatt whole house generator with a automatic transfer switch. Now, natural gas service, I've kept the natural gas service for one reason for this. And we'll talk about why I did that a little bit later, as we reach the end of the program. But now I've hardened my infrastructure. I have all the power I need. I have backup generation. And I've got plenty of power from that generator to run everything, including running the EV and the stove and the furnace all at the same time. No problem, can do. So if the power goes out in the winter for a couple of days, I'm cool, I'm good. Next step, I went ahead and installed $340, $350 plus 100 installation, under $500. You can install a device called a Sense Flex. It uses artificial intelligence to detect every single device, not just the circuits, but every device in your house. So what can you do with that? Are you kidding me? If you can see what's using power, you can manage it and you can save it. So we have things like always on. Well, what the heck is always on? 216 watts, always on. Go find it. We have other. What's other? Okay. Sense hasn't found it yet. Oh, it found my hydrant hot water heater. It found my refrigerator. It found my living room media center, on and on. So now I can measure, track, determine exactly where I'm using electricity, and then I can manage it for under $500. How quickly will that pay itself back? Are you kidding me? It'll pay you back in a few months. So I do that. Artificial intelligence. It'll pop up and say, oh, Al, I have a new device for you to consider what it is. So I figure out what's just turned on. Oh, it was the EV car charger just turned on. So I label it, and now it tracks it. Okay, more. What I'm doing to try to get some data on my system is going to the National Weather Service, Rochester area, getting all the temperature data, minimum temperature, maximum temperature, average temperature, degree days, that's the key, degree days. Downloading that data into a spreadsheet. Now my water furnace gives me usage data day by day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year. So if I simply track the individual day's usage, in my spreadsheet. Done, check. Okay, so in June 28th of this year, for air conditioning, I used 9.18 kilowatt hours for the entire day. That's 24 hours. Okay, so the last 5 days of June, do you guys remember that? The last 5 days, the average 90 degrees, high temperature. That's the hottest weather so far. So I focused on 5 days. Now remember, I've only had my systems and trackability of each individual device for the last 4 or 5 months. So I'm starting to build a data set to do analysis of how I'm doing in terms of usage and saving money. Okay, so let's take a look. I bet you're really interested in seeing what we have for cooling. Yeah, he's got it. There's a yes. Okay, so June 26th to June 30th. This is the data from the National Weather Service. 89, the average temperature, high temperature was 90.6 during that 5-day period. The average temperature, this is the average temperature over 24 hours, was 81 over 24-hour period. Okay. Now here's the magic. If you subtract 65 from the average temperature, you get degree days. Cooling degree days. The higher that number, the more your system air conditioner has to work, right? The higher the number, the hotter it is, the more your system, more kilowatt hours you're going to burn of electricity. I shouldn't use the word burn, use. All right, so what did my water furnace use? This tracks beautifully with the highest average temperatures. Okay, average usage, 24 hours for what kind of a temperature? 73 during the day, 16 hours, 71 at night, 2 degrees setback. I'm not sacrificing comfort here. No way. Average was 9 kilowatt hours for 24-hour period. Okay. That's $1.17 a day. Would you like to cool your home 2,200 square feet in the hottest part of summer for $1.17 a day? Count me in. I'm a buyer. Okay, I'm going. I'm good. I can handle that. That's $35 a month for cooling. Hey, with climate change, we're going to have more of this. I'm looking for more of that. I'm good. I got $1.17 on the line for each day. All right, want to hear about heating? Same thing. The first 5 days of October, October, were pretty cool. Pretty cool. So I pulled them out. Average high temperature 48.4. Average temperature across 24 hours 40.7 degree days. Now here's the rub. Heating takes more energy. Why? Because the difference from 65 down to your average temperature during the winter is a lot larger. So it's going to take more energy. Now, I'm able to track my carrier air source separately. I know how many kilowatt hours a day it uses. I know my water furnace, how much that uses. I add them together. Here's my total unit usage, averaging 14. Well, remember, cooling degree days were averaging 16. Heating degree days are averaging 24. That's a 50% increase in degree days. So I got to generate more energy to cool. Also, my downstairs apartment, in-law apartment, is built into the ground with not a lot of insulation on the concrete block. So it takes more energy to heat my house because of that. In the summer, it's just the opposite. It's like a cool paradise. I don't even need to turn the cooling on downstairs because it's already cool. So here we go, $2 a day. Now, I can't wait to track this when we have an average temperature of 12 degrees for 5 days. Can't wait to see how we do there, and I will have those numbers at some point. But this is $60 a month to heat $60 a month to heat our 2,200 square foot home. And let me tell you folks, we're not sacrificing. Saul Griffith, we're not sacrificing. We're gonna have comfort and lower cost. 70 degrees during the day and 66 at night. No, I'm not setting it down to 60 or 55. We're just too old. We're 71. We're just gonna go for our comfort. Okay. So, what does Saul say? Every time a gas appliance needs to be replaced, replace it with an electric one. How am I doing? You know, of the billion devices that have to be replaced, I've probably already done 8 or 9 of them. So we're on our way. Saul should be proud of us. Only one gas dryer left to go. Okay, so finally, and this is going to be my last blog article, our pipe dreams have come true. Take a look right here. This is the old makeup air and exhaust CO2 emissions from our gas furnace. It is covered and the pipe is closed. We're closed for business on CO2 emissions. Done, finished, fini. This is the pipe that replaces it coming into my house. That's the geothermal pipe coming in and out from the 1,400 foot ground loop. Okay, so there's the crew that did this. This is one of the approved contractors that Matt works with, ACES. And seriously, folks, when we started April 23rd, this wisteria bush had no leaves on it, 0, no leaves. By the time we got this later in the spring, early summer, it had grown in to look just like a beautiful green heart shape. Mother Nature approves of us switching to geothermal. Isn't that cute? Okay. It's a wisteria mysteria. And finally, when we got the generator, RG&E had, and this is no cost to me, they had to replace the gas meter because it uses a pretty hefty amount of gas when it runs. But our gas meter is getting kind of lonely. I read the meter before coming over here tonight. It said 8. That's 5 months. So because of the gas dryer, we're using just a couple of therms a month. When I get rid of the gas dryer, I'm going to use a couple therms a year to keep the generator exercising every Monday for 5 minutes until or unless we need to run it for a backup. Okay, questions? Got a couple of minutes for questions before we finish up. Yes, sir.
Can you explain what you mean by water furnace?
Yes.
Can you,
So water furnace is a brand, it's a brand.
you need to repeat the question so people don't see.
Sorry, explain what you mean by water furnace. Water furnace is a brand name of furnace. And they're doing a takeoff on the fact that the solution inside the ground loop is a mixture of water and antifreeze, glycol. So they just riff on the name water. You're basically generating heat and cool from water and antifreeze that loops through your ground. Does that help? Other questions?
Now, given where you are today, would you have used the split heat pump in the in-law apartment had you known you were gonna go install a geothermal?
I still would because I need it for heat.
Okay.
I actually need it. I don't use it for air conditioning,
Okay,
but I need it for heat because there's no ductwork in this basement.
got it.
So I have no ducts. So, you know, unless I re-engineer the ductwork, yeah, the question was, would you have gone with the mini split system if you had at this point? And the answer is still, I still need it for heat. Because again, we're
For the basement.
right. The basement in-law apartment has a walkout basement. But because it's nestled against the soil, the ground, the walls are cool.
Okay.
So I need more heat.
Yeah.
Other questions? Yes.
How long do you think it will take you to break even on your HVAC and how?
About 20 years, and I don't care. And we'll talk about that later. Okay, John.
My just looking at my half year, and it looks to me like in January and February of last year, it cost us less than $60 a month to heat our house, 100-year-old.
I rest my case. $60 a month to heat their 100-year-old home with their water furnace, with their geothermal system. That's awesome.
And my other quick point is when Karen and I, we have a 22-year-old furnace and a maybe 15-year-old hot water tank that we were looking at replacing anyway. So I factored that into my cost benefit analysis, including the NYSERDA grant included. So I think realistically, based on what was costing us, our payback was 5 years.
Yeah.
For us.
And I'm going to tell you why I have the attitude I have, which is I don't care. And I'll tell you why that when we finish up here. So I'll take one more question because we have to, I don't want to take you too much past the 7:30. We may go 5 minutes past. One more question. Yes.
What does your backyard look like? Is there still?
You'll see a picture of it in a minute. Okay. The pad that they drilled was 7 yards wide by 21 yards long by, guess what? 34 yards deep. That's 5,000 cubic yards of earth. Okay, so very quickly, Penfield is doing a program with Heat Smart Monroe. Thank you, Matt. What's next for Brighton? You can actually start up a campaign in Brighton to earn points and dollars from NYSERDA, Clean Energy Communities. If you wish, you can do that. Here's the actual language of that point of that program. We're doing it. Color Penfield Green is working with the town of Penfield to formally launch and maintain this program. We're looking for a minimum of 10 participants. We already have 22. We're looking for a minimum of 3 people purchasing systems. That hasn't quite happened yet, but we have 5 signed up with Heat Smart Monroe. So we got a potential to get our $5,000 and our points from NYSERDA. So that's good. And I would turn it over to Matt for a second to talk about how you might then generate a new program for Color Brighton Green if they choose to do that.
Yeah, so my campaign is we're working the whole of Monroe County, which is awesome. But we would love to empower people to do a similar thing in their town. Work in the community that you live in. Help your neighbors access the resources from the state. We're supporting the Penfield campaign with Al has a bunch of my slides. We can work together on building out events and things to do, involve volunteers and other people who are interested. The town, like Al said, the town can get grants itself to do other projects. And then, as a community, we can greenify our homes together and help, make sure people are getting a good experience when they look into a heat pump, because a lot of contractors, like I mentioned earlier, you talk to it, people get turned off. And so we want to really make sure people are, giving this technology a fair shake.
So my fondest dream is that you will copy Penfield like we copied you. Okay. If you want to go ahead and do a program, here's the guy to help get it off the ground. He's great to work with. I strongly recommend that you do that. So, all right. So let me finish up with some closing thoughts. I may go 5 minutes over. Got it? Is that okay? These are my closing thoughts, lessons learned. This is what I've really learned about this system. Number 1, I'm not a doomsday prepper. I'm a climate prepper. I'm skating to where the puck is, not where it's been. Hey, we banished natural gas to the practice squad. If the quarterback goes down, I'll call up natural gas. A generator will go on. Well, why? My house is oriented absolutely the wrong way. It goes north-south on the ridge line, and we've got great trees hanging over on the southern exposure. Just perfect to block the sun. My preferred system would have been solar panels and batteries to back up the house every day. That would be preferred, but I can't do it. So I'm not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. I'll use that natural gas. It's on the practice squad. I'll call up the backup quarterback if I need it. I'm not a climate perfectionist. What did Saul say? I can have my cake and eat it too. We can stay at 70 degrees and still spend $60 a month, right, John? And in the summer, I can stay at 73. I don't have to crank it up to 80. Come on, we're 71. We're aging in place. We're retired. And this efficient use of electricity is exactly what we said at the upstart of this program. You can have your cake and eat. My battery's bigger than your battery, way bigger. My battery's 5,000 cubic yards. The sun, cold weather, hot weather, recharges my battery year round. It's a 5,000 cubic yard battery. Happens to be brown when you dig down into it. Takes no maintenance. There's no chemistry involved. It's simply transfer of heat energy. That's it. So I'm happy. It's free, it's green, it's sustainable, it's unlimited, it's incredibly efficient. I pinch myself every day with my system. It's unbelievable. The feeling you have when you know you are off the addiction to fossil fuels. Gone. Finished. Okay, what else? I'm not worried about short-term return on investment. Don't be thinking like that. Get a loan that is less than your savings on electricity. Okay? Or just do it. We're aging, have I said this before? We're aging in place. We got another 20 years in this home. System will last 30 or longer. I'm not worried. We're going to make out like bandits. We are. If you think that electricity and heat generated from fossil fuels is going to go down in price over the next 30 years, that's a fool's errand. That ain't happening. Just not happening. Our return on investment will grow exponentially over time. We skated to where the puck is. We've made the decision. Combined with Penfield CCA program that I helped to initiate in the town. We're now at fixed price for the next 2 years, starting in December. Look at that timing, pretty cool. 6.443 cents per kilowatt hour, fixed price for the next 2 years. You in Brighton get 4.2 cents. Wow, incredible. Okay, so my wife and I can laugh at your rising costs for heating and cooling. Charging our Chevy Bolt on that same 100% green energy, we can laugh at the price of gasoline as it rises. Who cares about prices for natural gas and gasoline? I don't care. Let them rip into the sky. Okay, you can do the same thing because you guys were ahead of Penfield in setting up your CCA, getting 100% clean, low impact hydropower for the entire town of Brighton. We're paying 6.4%, 6.4 cents per kilowatt a year later. I wish we had acted faster. First one. Okay. So real neat heat. Been living with it now for the last few months, a couple months. My water furnace, it's a brand name, what brand name? Has 12 speeds. How many speeds does your furnace have? I have 12. So why is that important? Well, I watch this like a hawk. In the morning, it may start at a compressor speed of 9, a fan speed of 8. And then over the course of an hour, it's coming down to 5 and 6. It's coming down to 4 and 3. It's coming down to 1 and 3. The compressor is going down as it calls for less heat or cool, works both ways. So the compressor and the fan speeds, having 12 of them means it's an incredible energy saving. Less work for the unit to do. And I'm actually tracking the temperatures at the registers all around the house. Who does stuff like that? Well, Al does. So, you know, the furnace runs almost constantly, but at the lowest setting, about 450 watts. Heat, compressor speed of 1, fan speed of 3, drawing 450 watts. So it runs a lot more. The temperature stays very even throughout the entire house. It's awesome. And guess what? Lower register temperatures, 75 to 90, mean the humidity stays up in the mid 40s. So you're more comfortable. You don't need as much heat. John's saying yes. I've just noticed this. It's incredible. I'm waiting for the humidity to go down into the 20s like it always does with my gas furnace. Nah, hasn't happened. It's stuck right in the mid 40s. That's wonderful. So with all these incredible comfort benefits, I'm not burning a single cubic feet of natural gas. That feels good. $44,000 for the system. $7,000 in rebates to the installers. Now we're down to 37. $10,000, 9,500 and change in credits, tax credits. Now we're down to 27. System cost me 27. With a 30% tax credit coming through the Build Back Better bill, it'll be even more of a tax credit. So 27,000. No, I didn't buy a boat. No, I didn't upscale my Tesla Model 3 to a Tesla Model S. Didn't do that. I don't even have a Tesla. I bought a Bolt. The point is, where you put your money, I put my money where our mouth is. The comfort of my wife and I as we age in place over the next 2 decades. That's where I put our money. And I'm going to get that 27,000 back in spades over the next 20 years. Watch me. So, are you ready for our big, beautiful, green, all-electric life? Are you in? Thank you, folks. Appreciate your attending today. Any questions before we break up? I hope you go do this because it feels really good. So thank you so much. I'll be around for questions if you want to come on up and ask. I got to turn this microphone off first, though.
I'm gonna stick around too, so if anyone wants to chat.